All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story I wanted to touch on here today, Roelly Winklaar. So this past weekend, as you guys know, was the Romania Muscle Fest Pro Show, which, as you guys know, Rafael Brandao won that show and qualified for the 2022 Mr. Olympia. And as we talked about yesterday, Roelly Winklaar did not place within the top 6. He didn't make the first call-out. But what I did not know until today, when the scorecards came out, was the fact that Roelly Winklaar not only did not place in the top 6, but he almost didn't place in the top 10. So Roelly Winklaar actually placed 9th at this Romania Muscle Fest Pro, which was actually pretty shocking to me. I mean, it was shocking to me to see him outside of the top 6. I believe he was 5th at the last week's, the week before's Prague Pro, which was definitely a slip in placing for him, but slipping to 9th place at a show like this, and I said this in the last video, I mean, there were some really good competitors here. There were some guys that looked really good, but at the end of the day, this was not an Arnold Classic. This was not an Olympia. This was not a New York Pro. This is a little bit on the smaller side when it comes to competitive shows, and for Roelly to be placing 9th at a show like this, it really makes me think that this could be the end for Roelly Winklaar. I mean, I think there's a possibility we see Roelly announce his retirement in the very near future. I think that's how big of a deal a placing like that was. And I'm showing you guys these pictures here as well of how Roelly looked. And one of the big things I noticed here with Roelly, because a lot of people were trying to answer the question why. You know, why did he place so low? Why is he looking so not himself? Really, the big thing to me was the lower body. The legs, and, you know, we see this over and over again in bodybuilding. As bodybuilders get older, the legs tend to be the first thing to go. But his legs, man, the definition just really doesn't seem to be there, no matter how you look at him, from the front, from the back, the side. That's where I think he's really starting to slow down a little bit. His upper body, to me, still looks pretty impressive. To be completely honest, even though it's kind of a downsized-looking version of Roelly, I still think his upper body, his arms, his delts, still kind of impressive from, you know, it's Roelly Winklaar. I mean, he's never going to look, you know, mediocre as far as the upper body's concerned, but I think the legs, to me, would explain these placings. So I wanted to know what you guys think. Do you think it's time for Roelly to retire? I believe he's 46 or 47, so he's in his mid to late 40s. Do you think it's time for Roelly to hang it up, or would you like to see him continue to compete and maybe, you know, make one last run at the Olympia stage? Let me know in the comments down below, but I wanted to share that with you guys because it was pretty surprising to me when I saw that he actually, in fact, placed 9th. I thought maybe he was looking at 7th or 8th, but man, 9th place, I was surprised by that. Now, next up in the news, I want to talk about all this stuff going on with Shawn Ray in regards to some of the comments that he made about Shawn Rhoden. But before we get to that, I want to use this as an opportunity to promote the GoFundMe that was set up for Shawn Rhoden's daughter, Cora, and this was set up by his trainer, Chris Psycho Lewis. So all the proceeds from this are just going straight to his daughter because, you know, while everyone is talking about all these different situations, the Shawn Ray interview and, you know, all these things being said about Rhoden's death, I think at the end of the day, you know, the most important part of this story is that his daughter is now without a father. So I think whenever we discuss Shawn Rhoden, this video included, should be a good opportunity to remember the fact that no matter what's being said here, I mean, at the end of the day, she still lost her dad. So if you guys want to support, I will be linking the GoFundMe for Shawn Rhoden's daughter in the description box and the comments down below. So you can just click that if you want to support. If you don't, that's fine, but I just wanted to use this video as an opportunity, since we're going to be talking about some of this stuff, you know, to point people in that direction. So as you guys know, the talk of the bodybuilding industry over the past couple of days has been Shawn Ray, who did an interview with Dave Palumbo of RX Muscle where he was speaking on Shawn Rhoden, and the more overarching theme of the interview was all the current deaths in bodybuilding. And the big takeaway for a lot of people was that they felt that Shawn was disrespectful, maybe overly blunt, and even flat out made up things that weren't true about Shawn Rhoden. A big sticking point that I think a lot of people were really honing in on was the insinuation that Shawn Ray was making towards Shawn Rhoden having a drug problem. Not a gear problem, but a recreational drug problem. That was kind of something he was implying during this interview with Dave, and some of the things that Shawn was saying just came across very tone deaf. So as you can see on this post from Buys and Tries, this was kind of the reaction of a lot of people in the industry. There's a lot of people not happy with the comments that Shawn Ray made. This video is an example of that. Metroflex Gym in Australia They had enough of Shawn Ray. They didn't like what he said, and they threw the pictures that they had hanging of him in their gym in the trash. So this is how a lot of people feel. A lot of people are upset with Shawn. They didn't like what he said, and I think that's rightfully so. I think that's deserved. I do think that some of what was said there was unacceptable, but I do want to make note and give both sides of the story. That I saw Shawn Ray posted on his Instagram today, in addition to everybody else that's had their thoughts on what Shawn said. Shawn did post an apology to Rhoden and his family, and kind of tried to explain his side of the story on his Instagram. So I wanted to share that with you guys as well. And I wanted to kind of give my thoughts on it too, because a lot of people have been asking me what I think about this whole Shawn Ray saga. And to be honest, I do think a lot of what he said was in poor taste. I think it was bad timing. It was, especially the stuff that he said about Shawn having a drug problem. That stuff turned out to have no truth to it at all. And a lot of it was tone deaf. Now, the overall message that, bodybuilders should pay more attention or extra attention to their health and be more careful and, be doing blood work and testing themselves more regularly, I agree with that message. But this is part of why I don't do interviews on my channel. When you have a big platform like this, sometimes when people get on your platform to do an interview, all they want to do is maximize their time on your platform. They don't care about you. They don't care about your platform. They care about the reaction to what they say on your platform. So I feel like there was kind of some intention with Shawn Ray when he came on RX Muscle, which is a big platform in bodybuilding. He knew that a lot of people were going to watch it. He knew this was a hot topic. And I think maybe he said some of those things for a little bit of extra shock value to get people talking about him. And Shawn is a guy, he's asked to come on my show, on my channel before and do an interview. And I haven't had him on, not because I have a problem with him, but because I see this kind of thing happen all the time. You're responsible when you've got a big platform for what other people say when you put it on your platform. And like I said, some people, when they get an interview on a bigger platform like RX Muscle, they want to maximize their time on that platform, and sometimes they say crazy things and to try to get attention. So while I do disagree with most of what Shawn said and the way that he said it and the things that he was implying about Rhoden, I do think it's fair to also show his apology and then his explanation and clarification for what was said. So I'm going to roll that clip for you guys right here.
Hey guys, I want to jump on here real quick before I hit my morning workout. Over the weekend, I had an interview with RX Muscle Dave Palumbo talking about the passing of the legend Shawn Rhoden. And it seems like in that conversation, might have been a little bit tone deaf about what we were talking about. I jumped on there a little frustrated, a little upset about the fact that we're just having so many bodybuilders this year pass away. And in listening to the interview, it sounded a little tone deaf in terms of sensitivity. Too many athletes are passing away. I'm pissed off. I'm upset. Shawn was not an enemy of mine. We came up together. I watched him when he won his pro card at the North America Championships, helped him secure his first sponsorship in bodybuilding. I was one of the guys that at prejudging, when he won the Mr. Olympia, had him beating Phil Heath, while the entire nation of the Phil Heath fans were coming for me because I had Shawn Rhoden winning that contest after the prejudging. And fortunately, Shawn did win, rightfully so. And in his passing and talking with Dave about him being 5'9", 290 pounds, and about the drugs in bodybuilding, I misspoke. I mean, listen, Shawn never, ever intimated to me that he had any type of recreational drug issue or drug habit. We were not talking about recreational drugs whatsoever. My whole reason for going on there was to emphasize to every bodybuilder out there to get their blood work, to run, don't walk to the doctors, to make sure you take care of your health first. And I don't believe for 2 seconds at the moment that we lost Shawn Rhoden that he was in a healthy state at 290 and 46 years old. And so I might have glossed over the fact that we lost a great champion, the 14th Mr. Olympia. He's going to go down in the annals of bodybuilding history as one of 16 guys to win a title that thousands of bodybuilders and hundreds of Hall of Famers have tried to get. No disrespect to Shawn Rhoden. At no time was I on there to talk about disrespect. I think Dave and I were both trying to convey the importance of every bodybuilder out there. If you feel something, if you think something, go to the doctor. Don't leave it up to the federation to handle the business of telling you what to do with your health. We are all responsible for our actions. We are all responsible for our own health. People are not always going to like to hear what I have to say, but everybody with an opinion on social media has popped up and expressed their either condolences or their ignorance about what a bodybuilder should or shouldn't do when they pass. I work in the media. My job is to get out in front of the story, just as it is Dave's job to get out in front of the story, not to wait for other people to break the story. We've made a living talking about bodybuilders, bodybuilding, births, deaths, all kinds of things related to bodybuilding. So it's natural that Dave and I would be out in front of the story early and talking about it. Was it too soon? Yeah, it might have been too soon to be speculating, but that's all we can do as analysts and media people. I've seen hundreds of YouTube videos of people that weren't there talking about the possibilities of how Shawn Rhoden passed. Nonetheless, we are left with a big void. It's tragic, it's sad, it's never the right time to pass away. And when we lose a champion like that, we all hurt. And I sympathize with everybody's feelings. I was hurting. I knew Shawn. We weren't close, but in this bodybuilding fraternity, we all kind of wonder, could that be me? What would happen if I'm next? And so when these cautionary tales of bodybuilders who don't heed the warnings pass away, it hurts. And we don't want to predict someone's death, and I don't wish death upon anybody, but Shawn's legacy is not tarnished by the fact that people are guessing as to how he passed or why he passed. The fact of the matter is he's gone, and we're all are feeling the pain. The feelings are raw, the emotions are raw, and it's always too soon to talk about the passing of somebody, whether it's a bodybuilder or it's a friend or a family member. And Dave and I got caught up in a two-way conversation that might have been a little bit tone deaf on both of our sides. And I apologize for anyone that's out there feeling some kind of way because I might have misspoke or said something that was taken out of context. Let me be clear, Shawn Rhoden never intimated to me that he had a drug issue, recreational or otherwise. And for us to analyze and Monday morning quarterback from our armchair sometimes could come across in the wrong way. So the timing might not have been the best, and the words might not have been the best, but at the end of the day, I was coming from a place of a cautionary tale. Once again, another guy that I knew on the heels of George Peterson, Andy Hammond, there's just so many bodybuilders that we lost, including females, Melissa Coates, Joanna Thomas. I'm sick of talking about bodybuilders passing away before they should, and I feel the pain of everybody else. So I'm apologizing if I offended any of you guys by some of the words that might have been taken out of context, and also maybe even the timing. But all the guys out there coming out with videos with their opinions, it sounds, if you don't like me, you don't like me. You know, I don't expect to try to win anybody back. But to Shawn Rhoden's family, I apologize for any kind of insensitivity that this conversation has made you feel a certain kind of way. Shawn was not my enemy. We were not close friends, but he definitely wasn't my enemy. I championed his fight for becoming Mr. Olympia, and I respected his title. I don't have anything to do with the Federation's decision to not allow him to compete. So I hope everyone can just take a pause, take a breath, and let's, pray that we don't have any more of these episodes or any of these incidences. My entire intent was to try to warn the bodybuilders out there to pay attention to your weight, to pay attention to your health, pay attention to getting your heart checked, and that's what Dave and I both were trying to get across. And if you missed that message, it's unfortunate, because that's really what it was all about. And respect to the Rhoden family. That's it.
All right, now next up in the news, speaking of Shawn Ray, a guy that's competing in just 5 days at Shawn Ray's Hawaiian Classic in the Classic Physique division is going to be Logan Franklin, looking to pick up a qualification for the 2022 Mr. Olympia in Classic Physique. So Logan posting these 5-day-out updates, looking very impressive. I really, I think Logan was missed this year on the Classic Physique Olympia stage. I think he's a guy that belongs up on that stage. He is, to me, one of the best physiques in that division, and I want to see him on the Olympia stage in 2022. I'm not sure who else has committed to doing this Shawn Ray Hawaiian Classic, but we know that Logan's going to be there, and he's got to be a favorite in this show just based on the fact that I haven't seen any other big names doing it. But this is going to be a show to keep an eye on here in 5 days, because that's going to determine looks like whether or not we're going to see Logan on the Olympia stage next year. And this could be really a pretty big opportunity for Logan to qualify early and focus on solely preparing for next year's Olympia and then not having to worry about qualifying for it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below about how Logan Franklin is looking. And next up in the news, the Eddie Hall Hafthor Bjornsson fight. Now, this is coming up very, very soon. I don't think they've officially announced when and where they're doing it, but it will be early 2022. It will happen, and I do know where it will happen, but again, I don't think they've announced it yet. But the fight is definitely happening. So Thor and Eddie, they've been having this back and forth on social media about, I guess, different bet. They want to bet each other going into the fight. They want to donate money to charity. They've been going back and forth. I think it's kind of silly, to be honest. I think at the end of the day, at this point, all people really care about and all people really want to see is we just want to see them fight at this point. The fight had to be postponed from 21 to 22 because Eddie Hall detached his bicep. So I think for a lot of people, we thought it wasn't even going to happen. So they were talking about giving $100,000 each. The loser gives to charity. Then they were talking about $1 million to charity and $200,000. And now the wager is a tattoo, similar to what we saw with Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. So they've had all this back and forth, as you can see here in this caption from Barbend. That's where I saw this post first. So the quote from Eddie, this is Eddie's final response. I'm thinking this is the end of the wager. It says, my training partner showed me Thor's video about getting the tattoo for the loser of the fight. Well, Thor, I don't need to think things over. As I say, I think from the heart, so I speak from the heart. So straight away, I'll say yes to that. The loser has to get a tattoo of World's Strongest Man and then the opposing fighter's name. So Eddie would have to get Thor's name in World's Strongest Man, and Thor would have to get Eddie's name in World's Strongest Man. And then apparently they're also giving $200,000 each to charity from the proceeds from the fight, regardless of whether they win or lose. So that looks like that is the final agreement. I guess Thor denied Eddie's $1 million to charity bet. But honestly, like I said, I think all this extra stuff is kind of silly, and I think I speak for most people when I say we just want to see the fight. But as we get closer to the actual fight, I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who do you guys think is going to win? We haven't really talked about this much because there hasn't really been much news on the Eddie Hall versus Thor thing, but who do you guys think is going to be the winner of this fight? Are you Team Eddie? Are you Team Thor? Why or why not? I don't really have a good gauge right now of who social media seems to be siding with more. I mean, it looks like Eddie has a pretty good amount of support when I watch his YouTube videos, and it looks like Thor has a pretty good amount of support when I watch his YouTube videos. So I'm kind of curious on where you guys stand, because this is kind of a neutral audience between Eddie and Thor. Who do you guys think is going to win? Let me know in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up if you did, in fact, enjoy it. The thumbs up really helps out a lot, especially now, because apparently YouTube got rid of the dislike button. So dislikes apparently are no longer visible. You can still dislike a video, but only likes are visible on a video now, the number of likes. So that number is going to directly correlate with how many people see the video. So if you guys like the video, it will push it into the algorithm, and now that like number is the only number that matters when it comes to your feedback on the video. So we need to get those likes up. Subscribe if you haven't already. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out.